So we're going to start with the case study of my own garden, my husband and my garden in San Pablo. So you can find out how to select native plants, both Keystone species, which are of particular interest to me, and also using Calscape. This is a photo of the pond in our backyard. So this is our backyard 14 years ago. It was pretty grim. It had lawn and weird plants from South Africa and a lot of ivy and Himalayan blackberry. And this is the garden today. It actually is how it looks today, even though I took this photo last year. That purple is California lilac, one of the keystone species that Doug Tallamy mentioned. The yellow is aquatic monkey flower. In the back, the tall white flowering plants are cow parsnip, which are annuals that just like shoot up every year, and they're just so fun and wild. But I'm not here to talk about my back garden today. I may be able to do that when we get together again on the 16th. I'm really here to talk about my front garden and how to select native plants for it. This photo was taken about 30 years ago when I first moved into the house. You can't tell, but there are no trees here. But my husband and I planted this oak that's on the left. When it was a seedling, it was 6 inches tall. We planted that 25 years ago. And we planted the buckeye on the right 22 years ago. It was a birthday gift from my husband. He knew I liked buckeye, so he brought me some local seeds for my birthday when our son was a baby. So you can see it really doesn't take very long for trees to become, substantial parts of your landscape. And also for them to cast a lot of shade, which is defining the plants that I'm going to be choosing today. Our house has been under construction for nearly a year, and it is still having some work done on it. That porta potty is still parked there. I took the photo yesterday. And the construction was hard on our front yard. I used to have a little native plant garden here, but not anymore. Virtually all of the understory succumbed. Here we are looking under the oak on the left-hand side of the driveway. And here we are looking under the buckeye on the right-hand side of the driveway. So except for the large trees, we have a blank slate. So what plants to select? If you missed Doug Tallamy's talk last week, I encourage you to go to the Tours YouTube channel and watch it. He has changed the way I think about my garden. So I wanted to put in our own local keystone species, the plants that butterflies and moths can lay their eggs on. So I don't have time to tell the whole story now, but I will tell you that it's important, and Doug will, inspire you to want to have the same thing going on in your own yard. So when wanting to choose the plants that would go into our own front garden, I went to the Tours website and I looked on the home page at the bottom under Doug Tallamy resources right here. And when I clicked there, I got this page. And from there, I'm going to go to plant lists right here. And this one is called San Francisco Bay Area Native Plants and the number of species of butterflies and moths that will lay eggs on them. Because I want to be able to sort that list, I clicked on the Excel version. And when I do, I get this. So let me slow down for just a minute. Here are the common names of the plants that Dr. Tallamy and his crew have rated for their value to butterflies and moths, their reproductive value. Can they lay eggs on them? And if they can, the number is on the right in green here. So you can see if you have a wet area, willows, 327 species of butterflies and moths can lay their eggs on them. Oaks, 270. That's pretty amazing. Let's see some others here. Currants and gooseberries, 122. So this list is available for you to use and available for you to send on to your friends. But there's another tool. Say you say, well, I just want kind of a shortcut for selecting plants. Go back to the Tours website and look under readily available natives of high reproductive value to butterflies and moths, and you will see this list. So this is one that I drew up. I just looked at Dr. Tallamy's list and pulled out these plants that were readily available in our local native plant nurseries. And to the right is the number of butterflies and moths that can lay their eggs on them. But help me, Calscape. I feel like I would like a little more information. So Anne-Marie, let me turn it over to you now to talk about my criteria and how we're going to use Calscape also to help us select plants.
Thanks, Kathy. I And Anne-Marie Benz, I'm the horticulture programs manager with California Native Plant Society. And if you haven't found it yet, Calscape is a great resource for finding and falling in love with native plants. When you look at Calscape, there are thousands of native plants you can choose from. It can be almost overwhelming because so many of them are beautiful. But what we have that you can do is you can put in a particular location. I'm going to put in a location. We're going to be looking for things that would grow really well in Kathy's region here. So you can put it in, you can see that's still a lot of plants to choose from. But you can also, we know Kathy is very interested in supporting not only natives, but butterflies and moths as well, pollinators. So you can go over to the advanced search in Calscape and you have a lot of opportunity to get really involved in what you want to look for. We're going to choose that Kathy's going to look for everything except for trees for her front yard because she already has a couple of big, really beautiful trees that are doing well and are healthy. However, because she has big, beautiful trees and she's a little bit on a hillside there, we're going to put that she's got some partial shade and a little bit of full shade going on. We haven't talked about her soil, so I don't know about the drainage, but we also all know that we need to be conscious of our water use. So we're going to keep our water use fairly low here. We can talk about ease of care. And if we were doing my yard, I would probably say I would do moderately easy, but if we're going to be realistic, I'm going to go with very easy. But we want things for Kathy's yard that bring in bees, that bring in butterflies. We want to have a garden that supports her values, as she's been talking about with Doug Talamy's list, and he is terrific. You can also look for how, if they're available at your favorite nursery, if they have fragrance, if they have color, when do they flower, how tall do they get, and it'll give you a lot of options. But you can put in the ones that are important to you, hit search, and we've narrowed it down to 53 plants. But also, because we can do a lot of different things with it, we're going to go over here and we're going to order it by the number of butterflies hosted, because that's one of the things that Kathy's looking for in her yard. And we now have those same 53 plants that meet the main requirements, but we know which ones are going to be really good hosts. So we're going to take a look at one of them in particular. We're going to look at the blood currant here. And it's a great way to see what is its natural habitat here. What are the various ways you can look at it and see various pieces of it to see if it's really what you want as far as look. You can learn more about it. You have the opportunity to learn how big it's going to get, how fast is it going to grow, what wildlife is it going to support, and also landscaping information. How often are you going to need to water it? What makes it happy as far as soil? What does it need for temperature? This one is also deer resistant. If you're like me in Oakland, deer are an active part of my garden. You also have the opportunity to print plant signs, print plant labels. If you are signed into Calscape, you have the opportunity to add it to your plant list. And so Kathy could come in here and make a list of the ones that she wants. And then if she falls in love with it, she has an opportunity to click on what nursery near her is going to carry it. So it's a chance to look at throughout California, what nursery is carrying the blood currant and where can she get it easily. You can click on one of these that has it and you can find a beautiful option for going and having a new relationship with a really terrific nursery. So we had a whole variety, I'm just going to go back to the screen to show you, of plants here that we could use for Kathy's front yard garden. And I think she's got a whole idea about where she wants to go with it, and we can hear more from her. I'll also stick around to answer comments and questions for a little bit, and I'll put my email in there if you have any more questions on Calscape. Thanks, Kathy.
Okay, thank you so much. So Anne-Marie is with us until about 11, and she'll be answering questions on Zoom. And I'm going to continue on with a presentation on my own yard. and show you some more information on selecting plants. So Anne-Marie, let me thank you right now before I forget and push on. So thank you for spending your Sunday with us. And thanks to the California Native Plant Society for having this great database that we can use. And also, you've probably seen in my emails that CNPS, the California Native Plant Society, is offering a discount to garden tour registrants. So if you go into my email and look for the special link, you will get a membership for $30 instead of $50. It's a 40% off for new members only, I think. So I'm going to share some more of my slides now. So thank you for helping me, Calscape. So again, I have deep shade under the oak. I have light shade under our buckeye. And what I want are our local keystone species. And I worked then with my landscape designer, 4 Dimensions Landscape Company. And I just thought I'd show this because it's so interesting to me that 4 Dimensions didn't start with plant selection. They started by drawing out what the area could look like when the plants, whatever they were, are mature. So 4 Dimensions drew this concept plan, and you can see my driveway's in the center. There's the oak on the left. So they wanted some large screening plants between me and the neighbor on the other side, and some screening in the front to hide our trash cans, which are going to live there. So those were the plant sizes. And then they drew up this nifty chart, which I just love. So here are some of our local native plant species. And the habit is T is tree, then there's shrubs. It's broken up into grasses and vines. Is it a native? That's only what I wanted. So that's how my list came out. Is it a local native? Is another column. And then the Doug Tallamy Index is how many species of butterflies and moths can lay eggs on that plant. So as I was looking, and this is a list for discussion between my husband and I and the team at 4 Dimensions. So as I was looking for this list, I was looking for the plants that have the highest number of moths and butterflies that can lay eggs on it. I want to say again, if you're wondering, why does she keep talking about that? You'll just need to give yourself a treat and go to the Tours YouTube channel and watch the talks by Douglas Tallamy. He's given 2 of them, one this year, one last year, and you also will be yearning to have butterflies and moths laying eggs in your garden. The plants are, again, they're split up into sun, part shade, which is under my buckeye, and then full shade. So now I'm going to show you, this. I had to before I go on. So we'll just do a quick comparison. Here on the left in green are our native plants, and you can see this is their value to butterflies and moths. How many species can lay eggs on those? Oaks are champions, hollyleaf champion, cherry are as well. Our currants, 122 species, I think, for currant. The oak is 270. The California lilac is like 117. Now let's look on the right. And those are the non-natives that are commonly found in our gardens. These plants come from other parts of the world. And you'll see that on the ones on the far right really have 0 value for butterflies and moths. If you have in your own yard agapanthus, ice plant, periwinkle, red hot poker, tea tree, crepe myrtles, ginkgos, grass, sweet alyssum, they're really of no ecological value to our own butterflies and moths, or lepidopterans is the short word for them. If you have any of those plants in your gardens, you might consider them, replacing them with our native plants that have higher value. If you look at the low bars in red, you can see that some non-natives have like a little bit of value. Maybe 6 or 8 species of butterflies and moths can reproduce on these non-native plants. Tree of heaven, impatiens, eucalyptus, cotoneaster, forget-me-not, but comparatively, they're really, of very little ecological value. But let's go now and look at the plants that we can have in our gardens that do have a high value to moths and butterflies and birds, because if you have moths and butterflies laying eggs in your garden, you will have birds. So pink flowering currant is a host plant for 122 species. So lepidopterans is the term for butterflies and moths. 122 species can lay eggs on this beautiful plant, which flourishes in the shade. I know some people last week said they wanted to know more about shade plants. So this is your moment. This can go in either the light or the full shade, and it's a shrub. And here's its Latin name. And you can view this presentation at your leisure later if you want to take notes or do a free screen. Here is a ceanothus. Oddly, I always think of them as being sun lovers, but this hairy leaf ceanothus can tolerate light shade, and it is a host plant for 117 species of butterflies and moths. Huckleberry, you've probably seen this when you're out hiking in the park district. It's a larval host plant for 106 species of butterflies and moths, and this can tolerate light or full shade. It could go either under the oak or the buckeye. Here's our own local wild rose. It has a beautiful scent. It's a larval host plant for 95 species of butterflies and moths, and it will do well in light shade. Manzanita, the Uva ursi point rays, is the larval host plant for 68 species. So this is the early bloomer in the garden. This will start blooming December, January, maybe bloom in February. Bees love it. So do hummingbirds. It will do well on the right side of my driveway in the light shade of the buckeye. California strawberry is a ground cover. 58 species of butterflies and moths can lay eggs on it, and it can take light or deep shade. Goldenrod, this beautiful photo is by Saxon Holt. Goldenrod is a wildflower, an annual. It's a herbaceous perennial. 55 species of butterflies and moths can lay eggs on it. Now in my backyard, I have this in the sun, but it's listed as a light shade plant in a few places. So I'm assuming it can also grow there. Here's ocean spray. 38 species of butterflies and moths can use this plant. I have this growing in my backyard already. Here's honeysuckle. 30 species of butterflies and moths can lay eggs in this. I have this growing in my side yard, and I think I might have it in the front yard as well, or had it anyway before the construction. And here's bee plant. So this is only 12 species, but it's such a beautiful plant. I really just love this, and such a beautiful photo. My husband took this photo in our backyard. So I'm going to stop screen sharing now. And if you have any questions for me and Anne Marie, I'll see if I can. Stephanie, do you see we could take maybe one question before we go on?
So lots of requests for Calscape and sorting by deciduous versus evergreen, and maybe finding gopher-proof plants, and so a lot of input for Anne-Marie, and she's busy responding, so appreciate that. There was a question for you, Kathy, about the beautiful oak tree you have and pruning. Do you do that, and how often, or is that necessary? Do you want to address that?
I don't prune it myself. We get an arborist to come out maybe every other year, and I don't know about other people's oaks. I can only speak to my own experience. Our oak has a weak trunk, so we need to try to take some of the weight off it for fear that it could split. So I do have arborists come out, and they take care of it. Peter Rudy from Big Chief Tree Service and Matt Bowman from Complete Tree Care in Berkeley are both terrific arborists who help me with my oak. I'm going to go on now. I hope that was helpful to you for learning how to select keystone species for your own garden. I hope that it encouraged you to think about including keystone species in your garden. And I hope that you take a look at the resources that are on the Garden Tours website to help you do that. All right, I'm going to go on now. Thank you, Stephanie.